Hello everyone, I am Zenith08, and today we're back with more Minecraft content. After a bit of a long hiatus, our computers have finally stopped crashing, and we've got some more mods to show you guys. So today we're bringing it with even more train mods. You guys seem to like them, and I love trains too, so we're gonna keep doing these mods as long as we can find them. This is review number 5 now or something. Anyways, today's mod, the Immersive Railroading Mod, was made by some of the developers from Rails of War after they weren't really happy how Rails of War didn't seem to update very often. I don't know if it's even supporting 1.8 yet. Anyways, they seem to be working on it though, they'll make it eventually. The Immersive Railroading Mod comes with a bunch of new trains, some new track models, and utilizes the same framework as Rails of War, so it looks graphically absolutely amazing. A quick disclaimer before we get into this, we are only going to be covering this mod's creative uses. We will not be covering crafting recipes, making trains, placing trains, etc. And we are not going to be covering this mod's integrated compatibility with the Industrial Engineering mod. Both of these mods are pretty cool. If you want to see more details on them, sound down in the comments below, and we will see to doing reviews of those in the near future. We're not going to do that 6-month delay thing again. That was just because we were out of mods and our computers weren't working. Sorry guys. Anyways, let's get into this mod. The first thing we need to look at here is that this mod needs us to use a variety of different tools. When we go into this, we see that we have a track blueprint, which is how we're going to place and build tracks. We have the large wrench, which is used to destroy certain blocks. The coupling hook to couple or uncouple or enable coupling on trains. A conductor's whistle. Villager eggs for some reason. The BR coach, which is a passenger carriage. And the Immersive Railroading Manual. Quickly here, the Immersive Railroading Manual is how you do this mod in survival. It builds massive machines into your world, and to give you a scale of what that looks like, here's an example of its blueprint. I don't want to place it in the world because I don't know how to destroy it, to be honest. But if you want to look at survival mode for this mod, sound out in the comments and we will definitely look into it more. The track blueprint, though, is how you place tracks, and that's the most important part, because this mod adds a lot of them. You can see that you can change the type of tracks from straight, crossing, slope, turn, switch, and straight again. Rail beds can be changed from a variety of different blocks. Rail bed fill can be changed. We'll explain the difference between those later. The position is something weird that we'll get into a little bit later, but the gauge can be changed. There's a total of 5 gauges or so. Anyways, you've got the Brunel gauge, which we can see here is massive. You've got the standard gauge, which is a reasonable size, 3 blocks across. You've got the narrow gauge, which is slightly smaller than that, but is still bigger than the Minecraft gauge, which is designed to line up with minecarts. You can see my comparison here. Then you've got the model gauge, which isn't as good as mine. Okay, no, it's actually pretty cool. I haven't tried it out yet, but it's kind of fun. That's nice.
So every single train in this mod can work on any scale. However, currently all models are designed to work on the standard gauge.
So let's just put one on each one for no legitimate reason. Alright, so it won't fit on the two larger scales because the model needs to be longer and the track isn't long enough, but you can see there that it accurately scales the model up and down. Fun! Alright, so the different kinds of tracks. This is your standard straight track that's straight in a straight line. Surprise! The crossing track lets you have 2 straight tracks cross over each other. The slope track goes uphill and that's about it. Turning tracks get weird. Let's take a look at the track blueprint and how it handles that. You can change the degree of your turn from a series of preset angles, and you can change the size of that turn. Both will affect the ending track. So here's the different examples from 90 degrees all the way to the smallest denomination, which if we check our track bed, is 22.5 degrees. So you can see here how you can use that to place diagonal tracks, and don't worry, diagonal track does work if we set this back to straight. You can see that we can place diagonal tracks on a variety of different angles, and they will all work with the turns. This can allow for some pretty intricate designs, and we'll go over that a little bit later. Switch tracks are a little bit weird here, but we've got all of them. You can set the angle of a switch track as well, and the size. There we go, and you can see how we can set the angle, and the size of it also matters. You can see here we have all the different examples, once again from 90 degrees to 22.5 degrees, the smallest angle available.
And if you don't mind looking here, brother, you can see that 22.5 degrees doesn't work perfectly, And there are a few things in this mod with the tracks that aren't perfect. They'll probably be flushed out at some point in time, but right now it is a bit harder to create the tracks.
More on that as we get into building tracks, which is up next. One of the key things we're going to touch on here right now is how to change a switch. You have to make sure that your lever is at the very back block. Redstone on will change it, and redstone off will unchange it. There is no animation or anything to tell how that happens. It's unfortunate because that was one of the coolest things about Rails of War is that it accurately showed you, so hopefully they can add that in the near future, but if not, I get it. It's kind of a tough thing to pull off.
Compared to what this mod already has, I think it will be seen. All of the steam engines are fully animated.
And we'll get into that in a second, because it's pretty impressive. Taking a look here at our track blueprint, let's set this up to work. We're going to want to do a straight track here. When placing a track, at least in creative mode, you want to set a few things. You want to choose the length of the track, and you want to choose the direction of the track. In this case, I want a straight track right along here, so that's what I've set. And by simply holding the blueprint down, I can see where it'll place, and right-clicking will place the track into my world. Pretty easy. We're going to do it a little bit smaller here so that we can showcase diagonal as well. We're going to set that to 3 blocks. And you can see that it accurately updates. And if I place a 3-block track here, it works diagonally. If we want to do it on the less diagonal axis, we can do that too. So you can see how this will line up with all your points here that we have. And you can build pretty much anything you want. Setting the corner tracks is a little bit weirder, because you have to choose your angle and consider it carefully. The other thing to remember is that the size affects the angle. So if we place our 90-degree angle here with size 3, then when we set the size to 4, the resulting track is going to be different. So you can see the two differences there. They both turn 90 degrees, but one takes up 4 by 4 blocks, whereas the other only takes up 3 blocks by 3 blocks. All the other tracks work similarly to that, and it allows you a variety of options when building your railroad. Alright, let's take a look here. You've got a lava pit, or for whatever reason, you're going to need a bridge. To do this, we're going to use a straight track. We're going to set our length to around 10, and we want to look at the rail bed and the rail bed fill. Rail bed lets you choose a nice block to put underneath your track. In this case, let's use the concrete option here. We're going to use gray concrete as our rail bed. Just to show you what that looks like on the flat, we have this example here. You can see it just provides a nice underneath area. And it seems my size didn't change. There we go. And the other thing we want to look at is the railbed fill. This is a block that will get placed underneath your railbed. So to showcase this, we're going to set it to red concrete so that it's very easy to see the difference. When we place this over our bridge here at a bigger size, we can see that we have red concrete placed underneath anywhere that we couldn't place just on top of the existing blocks. So if we finish our bridge here, like so, you can see we've got the red concrete underneath, and the gray concrete forms your rail bed, and that's how you build bridges in this mod, so it's kind of fun. If you just place the blocks already, it's fine.
Those are basic, and doing 90-degree angles with this mod aren't very hard. But if you choose to do 22.5 degree angles or 45, the track lineup is sometimes not as accurate.
Alright, the last thing we're going to talk about here is the position option in the track blueprint. By default, I had it set to fixed, and I kind of like it that way because I like placing to the block where everything works exactly. But for the creative type out there, we can change it a little bit. By clicking it through, we can change it to pixels mode. Now when I place a track, it's going to line up not based on a block, but based on a pixel. So it lines up to the exact pixel, and I can move it anywhere within that 16th of a block. This allows great freedom when doing pretty much anything you want, but it's also a very effective way to mess yourself up if you're trying to get two tracks to line up. So be careful, it's a blessing and a curse. Pixels locked will lock to the nearest pixel. It will allow you to move forwards and backwards, but you can't move side to side as easily. And that makes it easy when you're trying to place special track. Makes it harder to change. Smooth lets you place it literally anywhere. I can move the track around wherever I want and it will place automatically. I don't know how you'd build a track and get it to line up perfectly, but good luck to those of you who try. Or if you need some weird piece of track, this will be your method. Alright, moving on from that, we've got smooth locked. This means that you can only move forwards and backwards and not side to side, and this again serves the purpose of allowing you to just line up exact pieces of track once you've got the horizontal lined up. And we're back to fixed, which places just on the block. Definitely for me, the preferred option. Alright, let's quickly talk about this conductor's whistle thing, mostly because it's funny. If I have a passenger carriage, which we're going to place down on the track here, and I have a bunch of villagers on my platform, when I blow the conductor's whistle, they should all go and get into the train. Oh yeah, you can climb trains, just like our villager here demonstrated, and if you're a villager, you can climb on top of a train just to be derpy on top of that train. Let's blow the conductor's whistle. All the villagers are in the train, and they'd be ready to go.
When all the villagers are in the train, you can actually get paid in emeralds, 1 emerald per villager per 1,000 kilometers, as the crow flies.
So this is a very effective way, once you build one of these trains, to farm for emeralds. So, with all this said, let's learn how to drive a train. So, let's go take a look at how to drive in these trains. My brother's going to come and we are going to drive on his train into the train yard. We're going to look at being a passenger on a train, which is a surprisingly good experience. And then we're going to talk about the noticeably better experience of driving the trains ourselves. So, here he comes. We've got our passenger train here. It's just arriving in the station. There we go. Let's hop on. So once I'm in the carriage, I can move around freely, and I can even go into other carriages. So as he pulls out of the station, we're going to keep walking, and as we walk, we are now in the next carriage along the train, and you can see how it looks proper in the pictures. And you can see that by just sitting at the seat and watching outside, it's extremely smooth to be on this train like that. So here we are. We're going to just wait for him to come to a full and complete stop before we get out of the train. You know, like they always say. And yeah, we're in the front carriage again. You can see how that worked. Don't know why I went uphill like that, but you can see how the train handles the slope tracks very smoothly. You can even walk into the engine, so now I'm with my brother, but we're going to go back to the carriage and hop off. You can climb every train in this mod. Sometimes it happens accidentally.
Now, when you're getting off the carriages, you will always get off the way that you're looking. So if you stop at a station, you don't have to worry about getting off at the wrong side. It's a nice little touch that this mod adds.
Alright, let's set up our own train here. We've got a little siding to work with. We're good to go. And my brother's going to be smart enough. He's going to set the points up so that we can go onto the main line properly. I've got my train of choice here. We're going to place it down. There we go. That looks good, doesn't it now? If we want to place a tender and have it be coupled to the train, all we have to do is place it behind the train and it will auto-update. So we're just going to place that down here. And we're good to go. Steam engines take a long time to warm up and take coal and water. So once we're inside the train here, we can right-click again to open the inventory. And we're going to place a bunch of water in. Be warned, building a train, putting coal in it without water leads to explosive tendencies. And then we're going to put some coal coke in. This is added by Immersive Engineering, and it's just needed to fuel the train.
Any form of fuel, however, will work in the steam trains.
Yep, so if it burns in a furnace, it'll burn in a steam train. And we can just see here we've got our HUD elements. We have 18.0B, that's 18 buckets of water. 0.0 psi. Now the psi rating is how much pressure you have. It does need to be bigger than 0, otherwise you won't move. And we can see that the train is 5.4 degrees Celsius, which makes me wonder what the outside temperature actually is, if it's that cold. But it needs to be at 100 degrees Celsius in order for anything to happen. So, since we can't take this train anywhere for a decent long while it warms up, let's take this other train that we got ready earlier in the day and has already been warmed up. It even has a long set of carriages attached to it, so let's take a look. Hopping into the train, you can see that we've added a ton of water, a ton of coal, and a ton of other stuff to it. To start a train, you need to disable the brake so that you're able to move. Let's F5 and look outside and watch as it glitches out. Cool. Now, disabling the brake. All of this is done, at least on my setup, on the numpad options. I think my brother's messing me up on this or something. I don't know.
The controls that you're currently using are different than the default. However, you can just go into controls, and it is pretty self-explanatory.
So for me this is on the numpad, but the key thing that you have to remember to do is disable the brake before you expect to move. Turn the brake off, turn the throttle on, and off we go. And you can see there the amazing animation in the pistons that we've come to expect from these mods that are reasonably well done and then graphically amazing. Right after the front falls off. So we can see here, this is actually how this train works in real life. I've looked this kind of train up before, and the front wheels are independent of the body. Interestingly accurate, that doesn't make it look less weird. So here we are, we can see that we're driving pretty solid, and we can go way faster.
These trains, some of which are actually capable of going up to 220 kilometers per hour.
Yep, so we're going to go, as soon as we're clear of the station here, we're going to go as fast as we can and see just where we get to. Let's go. Just to give you an idea of how fast we're moving, here's the coordinate system. We are at negative 1300, 1400, 1500, and every single time that ticks, that's 0.1 kilometer by Minecraft units of measurement, which is 1 block is 1 meter. So there you go, we've almost gone half a kilometer in not 10 seconds. Now we're on our loop track and we're going to start going back in circles again, but we're going to use this because it's a way faster way to get back to the train yard. Luckily for us, slowing down in this mod is not the most realistic process in the world, so by simply stopping the train and putting the brake on, it's actually an easy enough thing we can do. I have a button here preset to set the throttle back to 0. Okay, apparently when you slow down from going that fast it takes a long time. We're just going to shift out and, leave the train to disappear. Whatever, let's get back. Alright, the next thing we gotta look at is, of course, diesel locomotives, because it's a welcome upgrade to the normal steam locomotives here, and they fuel way faster. Taking this diesel locomotive choice here, we only need ethanol to fuel these locomotives. By right-clicking, you can see it, and we can fill it up by adding ethanol buckets, and we will get an ethanol bucket out. So we can't actually fill it up just because this particular engine is full, but we've got the fuel end already, so we're going to be ready to drive. Let's take a look at it. It is the exact same as the steam engine, except there is no pressure, there is no anything else. As long as you have fuel, you are good to go, not even a warm-up. The brake's already off, which is kind of dangerous. Don't you know to put handbrakes on? Let's go. Other disappointment about this mod, there's no horn that we were able to find. I'm hoping that's just a matter of finding the right audio clips, which I know can be a bit of a hassle. And there's no sounds from the engines. Again, just maybe finding some audio clips from a sound library, but having tried that before, I know it's not that easy. Now my question is, can we go faster in this than we did in the other train? I have no empirical evidence of how fast we went in the other train, so let's just go as fast as possible and see where we get.
Unfortunately, this train does not go faster than the other one. It's actually 10 kilometers slower.
Oh, that's disappointing.
The fastest train in this mod is the T1, with 225 kilometers per hour.
Good to know, everyone. So there's a lot of trains in this mod. Let's take a little while here to look through that. You can see all the locomotives. They all have pretty cool item models, and then they all look even better in big placed models. All kinds of carriages. Passenger cars are a bit lacking, but they are definitely the hardest to model, so it's easy to see why. You can see here that our temperature is now 100 degrees Celsius. It shouldn't go above that, otherwise it'll blow up. And you can see our PSI is increasing. We are at 67 PSI. Well, I have no idea if this is going to work, because usually trains would require more. But we're going to drive anyways. Let's go. So we're going relatively slowly here, but it seems to be that we're held back by our PSI limit, and we can't accelerate as well as we might have otherwise. Once again, though, look at that animation there. The truck even updates correctly. This is amazing, people. So you can see our PSI slowly increasing and slowly not. But you can also see that our speed is definitely hindered by it not being as good as it can be. Yay, glitches. I think you kicked me out of my own train. Good job, brother.
No, you stepped back a bit too far.
Okay. You can accidentally accidentally ride the other carriages, even if you're not supposed to be able to, including the tender. So that can have adverse effects. So you can see there, though, how it takes time to warm up. If you're going to use a steam engine, be sure to warm it up before you intend to drive it. That can be an important thing to remember, and it'll make your life way easier. Alright, so the big question is, of course, other than trains being cool and fun to play with anyways, do they have any use? Well, other than the obvious passenger trains to allow for high-speed transport around the world, you can use them as chests. You have to get onto the train. You can ride any train, like I said, so I'm currently riding whatever this is. And I can access its inventory. And you can see here we've got items. Unfortunately, they don't show up, but you can see I can put my items in and they will be saved there. And because of the way this mod works, the inventories on different trains are different. So if we get onto this flat car here, you can see that we get different creative inventories. Last thing we want to look at here is the tank cars, which can be used to transport water. This can be especially useful if you're doing something like industrial craft or buildcraft, where water serves as a fluid, and it might be useful to move it around. You can see here that we have the similar interface to trains, where we can put water buckets in and fill it up with water. But the other thing you can do is put an empty bucket in, and it will fill the bucket from the tank car and get your resources back. The last thing we need to look at here is the coupling hook. The coupling hook can be used to enable or disable coupling based on the coupler. When you click on a train, it will tell you that the coupler is set to ATX car. It's set to coupling mode. That's because it's coupled to this flat car here. But if you shift right click on it, you can change it into shunting mode. And if you click at the front, it'll do that, and if you click at the back, it will affect only the back coupler. Being able to do this independently is a great feature for moving trains around, and being able to get information will make it a lot easier, especially in multiplayer, so that you don't miscommunicate with your friends and not couple to what you're expected to. Okay, so while driving trains around is a lot of fun, and I could do it for a long time on end, sometimes it's really useful to have trains be automatic and not have to take any input from the driver. If this is the case, you're going to need to use a system called augments to make this happen. There's a variety of different augments capable of doing everything from loading and unloading trains to stopping and starting trains. The big thing they do is they all connect to redstone, and that can be very convenient for manipulating things and allowing it to interface with other systems, be it a hopper or chest system, and any item sorter or anything else from other mods as well that are integrated with redstone. Let's take a look at how we can do this, starting with the detector. The detector augment gets placed onto track like so. You can just place it on pretty much any block you want. Quick note, to remove an augment, this is where you use the wrench. You have to right-click on the block. If you just left-click and try and destroy it, you will break the track and everything else too. Learned that the hard way. Use the wrench. Anyways, when we place a detector down, we can place redstone attached to it. Do I need to use a repeater off of that?
You do not?
Okay, but we don't need to do that. And we can place a lamp here, and it should light up whenever a train drives over it. Let's take a look at that. Alright, cool. The item unloader and loader are two augments that will make item sorting systems easier than ever. And it'll make it really easy to transport your items long distances, say from your mines back to your house. To place them, simply place the block on your track and feed a hopper right into it. Then you can transfer your items into your hopper, and when the train goes over top of it, the items will slowly be transferred into the train. It'll help if your train can stop over the hopper for a long time and load up. Getting into the train here and opening its inventory, we can see that it's already began filling up, and it hasn't even come to a complete stop. So remember that, you don't need to stop, but it would help to slow down. The item unloader then does the exact opposite and unloads the items, just placing a hopper underneath it here and putting it into a chest. How about? We'll put our chest here. There we go. And he can drive over top of that, and we can see that we are slowly filling up our chest with all that wood, and that can be very useful for transporting long distances, especially when you use a better engine than a handcart. The fluid loader and unloader are just the same as the item loader and unloader, except with fluids instead of items. Surprise! Using a little bit of Industrial Engineering's piping system, which is probably compatible with all other pipes in Forge, thank you Forge for unifying all that stuff, we can load items into the tank cars and unload them very effectively. To set up a fluid loader, just set it up here. Put your pipe going into it like so. We're going to use this pipe here. And then put your barrel on top of the pipe. That part's going to be important. Barrel goes on top of the pipe. To fill your barrel, you need to right-click it with water. Convenient to be in creative. The augment here has a little bit of storage, so that's why it's draining right now and not staying in the bucket. But when the carriage goes over top of it, if we get onto this and check the inventory, we can once again see that it is filling up the way we expect it to. This can be great if you need to transport rare fuels, so if you're using buildcraft and you need to move some oil around or stuff, this can be very useful. Or if you just want a lot of water. The fluid unloader then does exactly what you think it should. It unloads the fuel. The key thing to remember here is that the pipes have to go into the top of the barrel. So we're going to dig down even farther. We're going to put our barrel there, and we're going to put the pipe there so that it goes into the top of the barrel. Hovering over here, we can see that it is empty right now. We're going to get the tank car to drive over top of that, though, and see if we can change that. So we've got on our tank car here, we can see that it is draining, and if we go to our fuel bucket here, we can see that it is filling up, and it's now full. I'm not sure what happens to the extra fuel. Is it still in the tank car? No, it's just empty. So there's all the fuel that we had that's been unloaded, and it's loaded into the barrel. From there, you can do whatever you need to with it, probably something with industrial engineering, or buildcraft, or industrial craft, or some other mod that might use fluids. Alright, the last two augments we need to look at here is the locomotive control and the speed retarder. Locomotive control first can be used to change locomotive speed, or apply the brake, or sound the horn. Placing it down on the track here reveals that it doesn't help us a lot. To change the mode of it, we can right-click with a redstone torch, and we can see the different options that we have available to us. Throttle reverse, brake, horn, computer. This is an open computer support for the mod, so if you want to do that stuff, go for it. Sounds like fun. Throttle forward, throttle reverse, brake, horn, computer, throttle forward. Okay, so you can loop, and I do that a lot. When you have it set to a variable mode such as throttle forwards, which can change based on how much throttle forward you want, you can use the strength of a redstone input to manipulate this, with 0 redstone input being treated as 0. Setting up this redstone here, this will set the train to go at full speed. Just to finish it off so that we don't mess ourselves up, we're going to put a brake run down the line here so that we slow ourselves down. So that one here is going to be set to speed forward mode and set it to 0. Throttle forward, and it's not getting any redstone, so it's just going to 0 us. And then we want another one that is going to be set to brake mode, and we're going to send redstone to it, and we're going to just try and stop ourselves. So let's get in the engine and see if we get the results that we wanted. Alright, brake is off right now. We're going to start moving forwards, and we're going to see if the augment can set the throttle all the way up. Alright, so you can see there the augment has increased it. We're accelerating. And then we've stopped, the brake's been applied, and we're done. You can see how this can be useful if you're trying to take everything and make it automated by using all of these augments together. You can create some pretty amazing things. But next, we need to look at the speed retarder, which is basically a way to slow the train down without actually changing the settings. To showcase this, we're just going to set a whole bunch of them up, and we're going to drive the train over top of them. So let's give us some time to accelerate, and then just place them all along here. Alright, that ought to slow us down a little bit. So, hopping in our train here, brakes off. Let's start moving. We want to go a little bit faster. And cool, we've derailed. Well, the idea behind the speed retarder is that they're able to slow you down, but you're not changing your actual settings, so it didn't affect my throttle or brake settings at all. And this is useful in automation when you don't want to have an augment for every single setting, change the brake, change the engine, and then you'd have to go back and do it all over again when you wanted to accelerate. So that can be kind of useful. So to see how augments really can be used together to create automation, let's go take a look at a creation my brother has made earlier and see what it has. Alright, here we are at Zenith Corp's International Airport. You can see we've got all the check-in desks and the amenities, and then we go to our airplane gates, airport security, which is great unless you're in creative mode, and the waiting area, the area of boredom, because you just sit and wait for things to happen. But we have to take the shuttle bus for our plane to get to another gate and waiting area. We needed a bigger airport, so here we are down in the station. You can see here we definitely have some hidden redstone going on, so this is going to be something interesting. We'll just wait for the train to arrive here. Alright, train comes in, stops, we can get on. And when it's ready, it'll head out. Alright, here we go. And here we are at the final destination. If we just wait here, we can see that in a few minutes this is going to leave for us. There we go, so it'll automatically keep running around that circle. It has been through this entire video, so it's actually been working extremely well. This can lead to some amazingly robust settings. And here we are at other gate. Just to take a look at where we went. Here we are. So the train was able to carry us from over there at the main gate to over here. So, there you have it. The Immersive Railroading Mod is an amazing mod that extends upon the framework provided by Rails of War and other train mods of the time. It's got all the automation that I loved about Traincraft that never worked, and all the cool models from Rails of War, as well as big trains and big track. Hope you enjoyed the review, guys. Thanks for watching, and sorry about the long delay. We're going to do better at that next time. Have a nice day.
See ya.